are these people?
You know, I feel like we've looked at a lot of like depressing like aspects of Gaza in the last month, year and a half, 2 years now, it seems. But I think there was some joy this last week to kind of look at, and I wanted to bring that. So this is Tareq Hajjaj over at Mondoweiss. ScheerPost is co-reporting. But they write, in historic return march, thousands of Palestinians arrive in northern Gaza, which there will be caveats to the joy. And I hate to be that guy about it, but I think someone has to. But a sea of people streamed through both lanes of Al Rashid Street, the coastal road on the western Gaza Strip, designated for the return north as part of the ceasefire arrangement between Israel and Hamas, as thousands upon thousands of people marched on foot in the west to the east. Vehicles were lined up bumper to bumper and allowed to cross after inspection on Salah al-Din Street. These were the scenes in Gaza on Monday as tens of thousands of Palestinians who had been displaced in the southern Gaza Strip since the beginning of the war began to return home. So I think we need visuals, right? To kind of get the full grasp of this, right? This is what this looked like, Care Bear. So that is the people literally marching. And like, this is, I mean, people in the comments were like, this is post-apocalyptic footage. Yeah. You know, like that's bad. You know, I mean, I'm like, this is what the people get to come back to, is this. Now, we know the Palestinian people are resilient and will rebuild whatever they can if they are able. And that's my worry, is the if.
Right.
You know, I feel like they're, for lack of a better term, resetting the shooting gallery, you know? And I hope and that that's not going to be the case, you know? But I did find this kind of heartwarming to some degree. But to continue a bit, families who spoke to Mondoweiss expressed their joy and feelings of hope upon crossing into northern Gaza, where what remained of their homes was waiting for them. The residents of Gaza City waited for their displaced relatives coming from the south, raising Palestinian flags and victory signs and welcoming the returnees. We endured everything throughout the war and stayed strong, but we cried more when we met our loved ones after coming home. Ahmad Hussam, a returnee to northern Gaza, told Mondoweiss. So these were the flags they were talking about, right? Raised above the people returning home. Great artwork that I used in the thumbnail. But I will let you look at the footage it's based off of, you know. So still a ton of people. Like, I mean, that's got to be, definitely 1,000 or so, even in this picture, you know. I mean, I might be over counting that, but definitely quite a bit. But those guys climbed up there and put up the flag, so good for them. But since last Friday night, families had been removing their tents in southern Gaza and heading to the nearest point in the Netzarim axis, waiting to make the journey to return to their homes in North Gaza. Many had been camped out in the cold overnight so that they would be the first to be allowed through. According to the ceasefire agreement, the displaced were supposed to return to their homes in the northern part of Gaza on Sunday morning, but Israel obstructed their return under the pretext an Israeli captive, Arbel Yehuda, had not been among the 4 female soldiers released by Hamas on Saturday. Yehuda is not held by Hamas, but the Palestinian Islamic Jihad in Gaza. So this is where I see this deal kind of being manipulable, right? Well, yeah. I think it also said when we covered it not that long ago that they had to provide a list of all remaining hostages, like dead or alive, pretty much.
Yeah.
Which all they had to do was dispute that. Most of the people we've talked to feel like in the second stage of this ceasefire is when they're gonna pretty much, dissolve it. So we'll see very quickly here in the next couple of weeks whether that's the case. I think the first stage is like a month or so, right? And we've already had about a week and a half of it. So,
right.
We'll see in the next 2 weeks or so, probably, how that's looking. So stay tuned for that. But, anyway, on a lighter note, a rose from me and a cup of coffee from her, a romantic morning in the home of freed prisoner Mohammed Amar Zaid on his first day after 20 years of absence. So we'll let him speak a bit. Praise Allah, thank you. I used to bring Abdullah a rose every day when I returned from work. And it's been 20 years and 5 months since I last brought her this rose. And today she offered me a cup of coffee, and I gave her the rose after 20 years. Praise be Allah. Allah blessed us, and we were reunited. Praise Allah, she makes me the coffee, and we drink it together, and I offer the rose as an expression of my love to her. Just some nice little romance amongst the rubble, So, yeah. And just appreciating the little things. But by Sunday, local media outlets reported that a settlement had been reached. The Israeli captive would be handed over early before next Saturday, when the regularly scheduled exchange of prisoners is supposed to take place. I dreamt of this moment every night. The joy is palpable among the crowds flooding northern Gaza, returning to their homes after 15 months of displacement. Fatima Abdrabo, 44, carries a bag on her back and walks northward. She knows that her house in the Jabalia area has been destroyed, and that she will sleep next to it amid the rubble, yet she cannot contain her elation that she survived 15 months of genocidal war and that her children were returning with her. So scenes such as this were a part, people taking their cats back to Gaza, which I think is just very sweet. Look at the kitties! I love them! So I do think that there's, they definitely enjoy their kitties over there. I think there is some significance there with that. I don't know specifically, but I know plenty of families over there that do. But any thoughts so far?
I'm going to save it to the end.
Okay. Well, let's keep going then.
I do have thoughts, but...
So, my feelings today are indescribable. It's like a weight has lifted from our shoulders, Fatima said. Even though we don't know what we will do when we reach our home, we are happy we can rebuild anything as long as we are in our land and in good health. I dreamt of this moment every night, she continues as she walks. Thank God that we lived to see it. This time, I will not leave my home, no matter what happens, Fatima vows. Fatima and her family have lived in a tent in Khan Yunis for several months. Although she was heading towards her destroyed home, she could not carry all her belongings with her on foot, so she left half her belongings in Khan Yunis, including pillows, blankets, or mattresses to sleep on. We carried half of our belongings to ease the difficulty of the journey. We know that we will suffer in the north and that we will sleep on the rubble, but we are happy because we will rebuild, she says. So, this is the kind of things that she's talking about. Literally children carrying children on their way to North Gaza. Again, streams of people. I saw a man rowing his boat along this shore, right, with their belongings. I saw a man carrying his father, right? Definitely striking imagery from the area. But from the eastern direction of the Gaza Strip via Salah al-Din Street, cars crowd the entrance to the Netzarim axis. Akram Safi, 36, sits in his car while his wife and children in the back seat, his young daughter holding a torn piece of paper from a notebook. The page reads the words, "Returning to Gaza, the proud." Akram and his family waited in the car for 2 nights until they could enter the north. "I will meet my family as soon as I arrive, my brothers and sisters. We have not seen them since the beginning of the war," Akram told Mondoweiss. "We thank God that we are returning today. We have had enough suffering inside the displacement camps. There is no pain that compares to the pain of being deprived of your home, and there's no happiness that compares to returning to it." He adds, twin brothers meet in northern Gaza for the first time in a year, right? Just in a similar vein, So definitely some lovely moments during this, but I mean, the fact that they've been separated for so long is kind of crazy to me. But got a little bit more, I think. This is literally a Palestinian kissing the soil of Gaza on arrival. يومين على التوالي واحنا محصرين بالطخ والعذاب والموت وضلينا صامدين لما رجعنا على اراضينا ورجعنا على غزه. But yeah, I mean, really harrowing stuff to me. So the first phase of the ceasefire agreement with Israel stipulates that the Israeli army must withdraw from residential areas in Gaza. The withdrawal began from the Netzarim axis, separating northern and southern Gaza, retreating to the border with Egypt and the buffer zone around the Strip. After the first phase, which will last 42 days, 2 more phases are expected to be implemented with the aim of ending the war permanently. Negotiations for the second phase are set to begin on the 16th day of the current phase. So we should probably be seeing those any day now. But thoughts, Care Bear? What do you got? Hit me.
Let's start with a positive. And
yes, I know. I hate it. I know.
And then we'll dial it back. Yeah. Not dial it back. But we have to get the
edges a bit. Yeah, I know.
I said this, I feel like it was last week or 2 weeks ago. I am not going to take the joy away from any Palestinian who wants to celebrate returning home. I'm not going to do that. So they have the right to do so in however they choose to see fit. And if that's what gives them pleasure, then that's their right.
Yeah.
But we all know this is going to be short-lived. So this is just a temporary respite for what we've been hearing is going to continue. And given what we know, what Netanyahu has said, that they plan to resume fighting really after this phase, this first one, given what we know now of how even in the ICJ we have a president who is in the hand of Israel by way of Christianity. It's kind of sad to say that, but it's not even like AIPAC and all of them. It's like the church, like it's going to continue. And I say that because right now it's just the idea of releasing hostages. There's no talk about rebuilding schools. Yeah, they're going to be rebuilding their homes, but with what? Like, there's no talk of international support of rebuilding. There's no talk of, as I say all the time, reparations. Yes, for the Palestinians. There's no talk of rebuilding infrastructure so that, and we've talked about this according to reports, I think it's going to take like, I want to say 80 years to rebuild it to a point where I think the region in that area is livable.
Yeah.
80 at least. So, and that would include having to find people who are lost in the rubble, and God knows how long that will take. So it doesn't give me. So yes, I can be happy for them in the moment, but in the long term, I'm worried because the fighting is going to resume, and Trump has basically promised that.
Yeah.
So, and I don't have my phone, but I saw someone on Instagram post it, and I'm going to forget the words exactly because we're going to hear now, oh, Trump is shit on Gaza, like blah, blah, blah. You know, all the liberals who pretended to care about Gaza for the moment and basically kept quiet.
Yep.
Are now going to complain about Trump, and I'm sure we're going to hear the word genocide a lot more frequently in the mainstream media now. Now it's safe to say it. But the reality is we have to put the blame on the Democrats who had the power to, like people were saying, at minimum, minimize. I will argue at most stopping it and actually doing the things that they needed to do in order for this to be truly the end, if they were brave enough and had the will to do it. But they didn't because they care more about their donors than they do about people, I would argue, and especially people who do not live. I would argue they don't care about us, but because people are far enough away that you don't have to make the focus on them anyway. So it's bittersweet for me. Like, I understand the joy and the release that they're feeling right now, and I totally get that, and they deserve to have that. But as the saying goes, you gotta, if you stay ready, you have to stay ready. And so I say that with caution. Like, enjoy the brief respite, but more is on its way. And I hate saying that. But I mean, but we speak truth here, and that is the truth.
Well, I've definitely been worried as far as, this is concerned. I'd love to be able to have them have their land back and then some, but I worry that after the second stage of a ceasefire, it's right back to where we were. And, not a lot of safety and rubble,
Right.
So I would just like to, take precautions to where if you need to get out, do so, but also I completely understand staying. So
right.
That's a tough choice.
Right. But I think for many people, and I think this is a justification that they're making, I'd rather die at home than anywhere else. And if they're wanting to make that stance, they have the right to do that.
Yeah.
So
I
think honestly,
I'd rather you be a warrior later than a martyr
I think
today.
honestly, for many of Right. I think honestly, for many of them, I would like to think that many of them are aware of what's coming, but it's still the idea of like, we don't want to die in a place that's unfamiliar to us. We'd
No,
rather die
I
in a
get it.
place that, that at least they're able to make a final stand and be like, I want to die at home, which to me, yeah, as you said, I understand completely.
Yeah.
So,
which I'd love to be wrong too. Feel free to prove me wrong that this will work out. So, but as we see in the Gaza, like, I don't know how, now the West Bank is going to get the full force of it, I think. So in the meantime, and, there's tons of stuff about Greater Israel is definitely being more of a thing. So if not the Strip, it's going to be Lebanon and Syria and the West Bank and, possibly even parts of Egypt coming up. So we'll see. We'll keep you informed, but talking about it is almost definitely why we're demonetized. You can go to ko-fi.com/indienewsnetwork, scan that QR code on your screen, or, go in the little doobly-doo down below and find the link to that. But, we get it. Times are tough. Not everyone has the money to spare. So just like and subscribe. Takes you 2 seconds, hitting those buttons. Share this with your friends and leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Are we too, should we just be positive about it? Let us know. Sorry we're cynical. My apologies. But otherwise, thanks for watching.